Hey folks, Chamia here with the Just Chamia Show with the beautiful, lovely Ronita Wheatfall.
Hello.
Founder, designer, creator extraordinaire of Belle Moi, and we'll talk more about Belle Moi. But first, before we get into that, Ronita, what are you reading and what are you listening to?
Currently, and this is so bad, I'm not reading anything. The last book that I was reading, it was about sociopaths, just the characteristics and stuff like that. But the past 3 months, I've been trying to move into my new place.
Okay.
So I had to put the book down. Music, I'm an old school person, and it's, I'm not ashamed to say it, I feel like I've turned into my mom. The music these kids listen to.
Yes, honey.
I don't like,
So what old school do you like?
I guess it ain't really old school, but like Erykah Badu, like India Arie. I'm a soul child, that type of music is what I like.
And Soul Child is coming to town.
Yes.
Gotta go see him.
Yes.
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 All right.
I kind of like house cleaning music.
Yeah.
The stuff you put on and just
burn some incense and chill. Vacuum at your pace.
Right. Right. That's what I like. And then, of course, I'm a dancer also. So. But I'm still the old school stuff. Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, like Usher. You know what I mean? I'm in that era.
Okay.
That's me.
All right, good, good. Making me feel old. Let's talk about old school. I'm like, that's old stuff. All right.
Right.
Okay.
I'm like,
That's all good though. So for those who don't know you, tell us who is Ronita. Like, where are you from? Who is Ronita?
Well, Ronita Wheatfall, my married name. I am from Oakland by way of Berkeley. I was raised in Berkeley. Love Berkeley. I feel like if it wasn't for Berkeley, I wouldn't be ladylike. I wouldn't be a woman. I'd be a little, ratchet chick running around like that's who I would be. So I'm just a down-to-earth, extremely honest, loyal, old school person. It's pretty much very creative, and that's how I live my life.
Love it. And she's my sister. She don't know it because I be wanting to get her every time I see her. She had these caps on. That's what my daddy called, not a hat, a cap. Right. And she rocks them fiercely. So love that.
Thank you.
Love that. So we're going to talk about Belle Moi, but before we do, I want to get your opinion about a few news stories that we're hearing about. So, or maybe some folks haven't. Rachel Dolezal. So she was the president of the Seattle NAACP chapter.
Right. Howard
University graduate. Busted, I call her, by her white parents who said that she's a white girl. But she herself in interviews over this past week has said that she's black, or she identifies as black. She did resign this past Monday from her post. But in the interview that she did with Melissa Harris Perry, she said, and Melissa asked her, "Are you black?" And she said, "Yes, I am."
Then why did she resign?
Well, yeah.
I'm just saying, because obviously when people do stuff like that, and then they end up resigning from some important position or whatever, they're embarrassed of what it is. That instead of retracting what they did, they just quit and say, okay, well, I shouldn't have been doing that, so I stop it, type of thing. So it's like if she says she's black, then she should have had no reason to quit. If there's no embarrassment or no, you know what I'm saying?
So of course she's had that question. Right. And her response has been, she doesn't want herself to take away from the fight and the mission and the work that she's trying to do. So she doesn't want to detract from all of the attention that needs to be paid to the social issues or injustices of black people.
On her instead of the NAACP, basically.
I guess so, yeah. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
There's a question that isn't really being asked yet. I haven't seen it in mainstream media about this whole notion of racial identity. So this woman was born to two white parents with deep European roots. So they're white, they go way back in terms of generations as being Caucasian. But she says that she is a black woman. She has black children. She's married to a black man. She went to a historically black college and university. She has changed her complexion and even her hair, all of that, to be more consistent with that of a black woman. So the issue that I'm not hearing people talk about is the whole notion of race identification. Right. I'm getting to the question. Recently, Bruce Jenner who is the father of in the household of Kardashian, all of that, has or said that he struggled with years with his gender identity and has transitioned to being a woman. So we've heard over the years people talking about an issue or a struggle with gender identity. Now here's the first public representation of someone who struggled with what I call racial identity. Do you think this is something that we're going to see more of? Is it okay for someone to be born, black, Asian, white, or whatever race, and then change their appearance,
right,
and adopt and really say that I'm something else?
In my opinion, I feel like it's not okay. It's not okay for me to say I'm a white woman. Like, even though I feel like a lot of black women, especially in society, lighten their skin or go blonde as soon as they get famous, or you know what I mean, or whatever, just so they can fit in and cross over, even though we're 2015 and we're still crossing over. Right.
Still
happens. I don't think it's okay. In my opinion, I feel like white people have always wanted to be black, but they don't want to be black. They don't, you know what I mean? Like, how would she feel her son was shot in the streets just simply because of the way he looked? Now it's not going to seem so fun no more.
Right.
It's not going to seem so trendy no more. Right now, more than ever, I feel like it's a trend to change.
Yeah, or to identify with blackness.
Right. It's a trend. So do I think we're going to see it more? Yes. Just like if you go back to when we were younger, and the people being gay. It was like behind closed doors.
Right.
Because the one thing that defines you from being gay and straight is sex. Sex is not supposed to be in the street. I don't care what you do behind closed doors, but keep what you do behind the closed doors. You see straight people having parades.
Right.
It's just the truth.
Right.
So now everything is in the open. Like, there's nothing that's hidden anymore. So I think we're going to see a lot of it because it's what draws attention. Like the situation with Bruce. Me and my sister were talking about this recently, and I don't know him. I don't know his family. I don't know the history. I don't know what he struggled with.
Right. I
have no idea. All I know is he's a 65-year-old man who decided he wanted to be a woman. In my opinion, it's because the women around him are getting more attention than him. So now let me do what I can do to get attention. Because why at 65?
Right.
Like, that just, to me, that doesn't make sense. 35, okay, you were married for this amount of time, you had your children, now you're like, you know what, I really don't. But 65,
right,
you're not the star anymore. So now you want to be the star again. So he did, in my opinion, what it takes to get that back. I don't know, but that's just how I feel about it. And then her wanting to be black on the surface and then saying she's black, you're not black. I can't say I'm white. Yeah. It's like, okay. Perfect
so
example.
in the case of the U.S. Census, when they come to your house or things like that, or if you're applying for different programs, or even on job applications now where it's optional, how do we know what's accurate if someone has said that they are black or they are Asian but they were born something else?
Right.
Do we know what's really the truth? If our parents had not come out and said, wait a minute, our daughter is white. Even one of her adopted brothers have come out and said she could have just kiboshed this whole thing and said, yes, I was born white, but I identify as black.
Right.
But she didn't do that. And even today, she still says she feels like she's a black woman. It resonates with her, all of that.
She can't possibly know what it feels like to be a black woman, though. She can't. She was not. The first time I felt, quote unquote, American was when I lived in Germany. I've never felt American. So I walk around, I do American stuff, I speak English, I straighten my hair, I do all these different things, but I can't even identify with being American. So what gives her the right that she can identify with my struggle? That's my problem with it. Like, she's not black. I don't care what she say, how she want to say it, I don't care. There's no way in hell she can identify with being a black woman.
Do you think that black people, do you think that, and there's no way that any of us, let me just say this, there's no way that any of us can speak on behalf of the entire race, but I'm going to ask you an entire race question anyway.
Right, because I do it all the time.
On behalf of your people.
Right. I'm just
do you think that the black people in America who have heard of this story are struggling with her identifying as black because the moment that it doesn't suit her, there's a legal issue or something like that, she can retract her blackness and retreat into whiteness? Or do you think it's an issue that, you know, there's like a pride in the struggle of our ancestors that, you know, we've kind of like earned this blackness? Or what do you think the issue is?
I think it's a combination of both. Because just like I mentioned earlier, if her son got shot in the streets, she wouldn't want to be so black anymore. You know what I mean? Or she doesn't have what we've been through. Her grandparents and not her great grandparents weren't raped by her mama and her daddy. She was born of her mama and her daddy, so she's privileged. So for her to just take that on, it's a huge annoyance. And I think it has a lot to do with both that you mentioned. Because it's like being black is not just nappy hair and makeup, darker skin makeup. Like it's a lot more that goes into it. Like we struggle every day for who we are, where we came from, what, you know what I mean? Like, and she can switch it up if she feels like it. Yeah. And that's, you know, it's just not fair.
Well, I think we need to keep an eye on this, and this being the issue of racial identity or racial identity crisis, because as we've seen the publicity, and I really feel like it's you know, a huge campaign of acceptance of the LGBT lifestyle community, transgender, all of that, fine. But now you have the issue of racial identity and how people, so we'll see if that becomes something, if that becomes a civil rights issue and all of that. Let's keep our eye on it. The Wall Street Journal published a story where they said that Cleveland judge Ronald Adrian, and I could be pronouncing his last name incorrectly, issued an opinion stating that the two officers who were involved in the murder of 12-year-old Tamir Rice last November should be charged. So he issued an opinion that, you know, of course they have not been charged yet. Also, last week, the prosecutors who had been investigating this murder released a 224-page report of their investigation of the shooting, in which the officer, Timothy Loman, stated that the 12-year-old Tamir Rice gave me no choice in shooting him. So this is with him being on the scene less than 2 seconds before he pulled the gun and shot this child. Also, last week, 22-year-old Khalif Browder committed suicide after being held in Rikers Island jail for years without a trial. Okay, and this is after he was arrested and incarcerated in Rikers Island, which is an adult prison, at the age of 16 for allegedly stealing a backpack. So he committed suicide last week. Also, we saw in media last week, 15-year-old Dejaria Becton thrown to the ground and violently pinned down by a white officer in McKinney, Texas. This was at a pool party. She was wearing a bikini, thrown down, screaming for her mama. And the other kids who were around her, you know, were just like, hey, what are you doing? And had guns drawn on them. Some have argued over the years that we've seen in American culture since the abolishment of slavery, and even as part of the institution of slavery, the dehumanization of the black race, particularly villainizing black men, in which we've seen black men incarcerated at disproportionate rates. All of that, black women as well, and their portrayal in all of society, and now black children. Do you think that with the violence that we're seeing, and I'm calling it that, violence and egregious injustices that we're seeing against our children, that there is an effort in this country to not just dehumanize black men and women, but also now black children?
Of course. Of course. It's I can approach this so many different ways, because I have such strong feelings about
Speak things. On it. Wow. Start rocking and get all southern.
But my number one thing about it is I feel like no one is paying attention to the fact that the government has found a way to make a legal gang. The police they're a gang. They look out for each other, they lie for each other, they, you know what I mean, and their main enemy is black men. So it's like the Bloods and the Crips. That's what they are. And now what they're seeing is slowly but surely we're trying to reach our children. We still have our inner city neighborhoods that are just broken and they just gonna keep on falling because don't nobody care about poor niggas. Let's just say it. But in our other neighborhoods, we are slowly changing the minds of our young people. So I feel like what they're doing now is we have to target the younger people.
Right.
Because the younger people are starting to get up and starting to make a change and starting to do different things and starting to have money. And our wealth is growing slowly but surely, but it's growing. So in my opinion, I feel like they need to stop us at the root. Which is with our
the children.
Yeah. Because why else, like, and all of a sudden it's like an epidemic.
Yeah.
It is.
So let me ask you this. So I've talked about Ohio, I've talked about New York, I've talked about Texas. Here in California, have you seen this kind of brutality or racial issues against black children, against,
yeah, I have 4 brothers. And every single one of my 4 brothers has had a run-in with the police. One of my brothers in particular, he's what I called, I don't know even what to call it, but I feel like he got tricked by Berkeley. When you grow up in Berkeley, the race almost doesn't exist. Everybody's kind of a melting pot. We all love each other. We all just want to eat good food and laugh. That's Berkeley. So me and him used to have arguments over racism still existing. Until he was arrested for absolutely nothing. He's like nerd.
Was that in Berkeley?
It was in Berkeley too.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
He's like nerd. He doesn't do anything wrong. He was, parents told us to do our chores. His chores were done first. Like, he's that type of kid. Once that happened, then he was just like, well, damn.
Right.
Like, it really is. And I was watching this study on the police, and they had all the police, white, Asian, blah, blah, the whole thing, black, all of them. Somebody would pop up and they would have a cell phone, or they would be pulling something out of their pocket, or they would have a gun. Everybody shot the black people, including the black people. Shot the black people. And all the black people in the study had a phone. None of the black people had a gun drawn to the police, but they shot every last one of them.
Right.
It's psychological.
Right.
It's what we see on TV. It's how the bad part is
it's become normal. The norm.
It's what it is. If you a nigga, you bad, shoot you. That's how it is. And then if you a black woman, you ratchet, no matter if you have money or not. It's like, the problem is,
you're somebody's baby mama.
Right. Right.
Hate that.
We're keeping the stereotype going. We're not changing it in the public eye, because we can shut that down if we wanted to. We don't have to do.
Why aren't we shutting it down? Why are we supporting it, embracing it?
Because nobody wants to be poor. If that's what they want, then that's what we'll do. It's just like a prostitute. First time you go out and suck a dick for some money, you're all ashamed and everything. But that one time you get that extra $20 tip, now you're like, oh, I don't care if this is bad, I want that money. And I feel like that's what it is. Because why else, at this point in our system, at this point in our economic growth, why do we not have our own everything? We don't even have our own town.
Right.
You can find Chinatown, Asian, all kind of Indian, everything. You cannot find
Little Italy.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can find all that, but you cannot find our own town. We don't have our own.
Then you're in the hood.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it still isn't ours, because we still can't do what we want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and when we take the value all the way down, they come in and move us out. And
hello, Oakland.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And,
hello, South Richmond.
Take over, and so it's like, we're doing it to ourselves. We're keeping it going as a community, not as individuals, but just as a whole community. We don't have any leaders. We don't have anything. And I always say this, and people get mad at me when I say this, but I just feel like it's my truth. We should have never integrated. We should have stayed segregated.
Let me ask you this question as a mom. What do you say to your children about race? What do you say to your children about police engagement? And what do you say to your children if they hear about stories like a Tamir Rice?
Right. That's a very hard question to answer. I was dropping, I just recently had a bride I was doing a dress for, and she lives in East Oakland. And I dropped I went for a fitting. As we were coming out the house, white police chasing a young black man. He couldn't have been nothing but like 14. And I stopped and I watched, just me as a parent out of concern, I'm going to sit here, I'm pulling out my camera, I'm whatever I can do to make sure he don't, harm this child. And he did, the normal stuff, jumped on the kid's back. I mean, big ass white boy, little ass kid, jumped on his back, twist them all up, whatever. Wow. And then he noticed everybody watching, so then he just sat him on the curb, and you know what I mean, the more police came or whatever. When we got back in the car, my daughter was like, I don't like the police. That was wrong. My son was like, oh my God, did you see him chasing him? Like, my son was happy at the good guy chasing the bad guy.
Okay.
That's how he saw it.
Right.
And at that point, I just prayed because I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Because my instincts wanted to be like, agree with my daughter, fuck the police, they scandal, blah, blah, blah. But then I don't really know the back end of the story.
And
I don't know why the kid was running. You know what I mean? He could have been committed a crime, or, you know what I mean? So I just don't know.
So let me ask you this question. We talked about Tamir Rice, and we talked about Dejaria Becton, and so those are stories like Tamir was murdered in November last year, 2014, and then it was over the last couple of weeks. This week, are you hearing about these stories in the news?
So my husband was murdered 3 years ago.
Sorry
Since
to hear
then,
that.
I don't watch the news.
Okay.
So the only time I hear about any of these things is if I'm scrolling on Facebook.
Okay.
I've taken a Facebook break for the past few days.
Okay.
So I haven't heard anything this week.
Okay. Well, no problem.
Yeah.
But you haven't heard anything this week in your couple-day break, and I'll answer the question for you because I'm always in the news from multiple sources. It's not, top 10 minutes, or it's not the top of the news in any sense, these particular stories, or the suicide that we heard about in New York. Do you think that's a problem? Do you think that we should be talking about, what's happening in McKinney, Texas, and officers, throwing bikini-clad children to the ground and pulling guns on them? Should we be talking about it?
I think I'm tired of talking about it, honestly.
So then what should we do?
Right. So that's what I think. I feel like us as a people need to stop turning the other cheek.
Okay.
I think it's we have been house niggas way too long. I think we need to pick back up the philosophy of the Black Panthers and Malcolm X, and
so that by any means necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like we need to band our money together as a community, because we are supposed to take care of each other. Start buying homes and have our own neighborhood. Start doing our own stuff, our own banks, our own grocery stores, our own. And I know people are like, but just all the separation, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, in my opinion, when we were segregated, we were way better off. We were on a better road. We had our own towns. We had our own banks. That's when all our schools start popping up.
And just for context, let me ask you this question too. Are you saying it because you think that separation of the races is a good thing? Or are you saying segregation was beneficial to us because we were more involved as a community together? So just want to I know that's what you meant,
right.
But I want to clarify that, because there are some people who don't look at the depth of a conversation. They just take a comment off the cuff and they go there.
She's a racist.
Yeah, but and I know that to not be the case, I want people to be thinking critically and to listen critically as well.
I think when we were forced to be in our own community, we did better as a community. Now that we're not forced, it's like we're a bunch of kids who have lost their mother.
And it's my business. It's my business.
Right.
That's my kids.
That's it's just like that. That's what we're doing. We're just like this. Instead of doing what we need to do to keep our community strong. Because right now, we're not strong as a community. And in my opinion, we're the only race that's not strong as a community. We're the only ones.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden, all these Mexican supermarkets are springing up everywhere. Where's our supermarket that we own? Where's our Mi Pablo? Where's our Safeway? We don't have.
And Housewives is gone.
Right. I'm like, we don't have that. When I was growing up, a lot of members in my bloodline, my family, owned like liquor stores or laundromats or stuff. We don't own nothing. That's a problem for me. You know what I mean? And so I feel like we need to separate to get stronger. And it's okay to mix and mingle and blah blah blah, because in reality, who really is pure? None of us are really pure. But if you know, if shit hits the fan, everybody has somewhere to run and hide. We don't.
There it is. There it is. And then I hate sloppy transition. I'm like, because we can really spend, you know, and I think that we collectively need to spend more time talking about and putting to action, not just the issue of race, but the issue of murder and all of that. And I was going to go to this next story, but let me ask you this last question real quick before I go there. When you think of Tamir Rice, 12 years old, gone, gone, and you think of Oscar Grant right here, Oakland, Fruitvale Station, you think of Michael Brown, you think of Eric Gardner, and while no charges have officially been filed yet against the officer who murdered 12-year-old child Tamir Rice, what does justice look like in a situation like that?
What's justice? Oh, that exists? Because where's the justice? They get, you know, the most officers in their gang, the most they get is like a slap on the face. They get transferred to a new location to terrorize somebody else's neighborhood, and you know, there is no justice, in my opinion. Like, even if he goes to jail, so what? Another officer is going to do the same thing to some other little innocent child. Because
you think it's the way that they're trained,
I think,
and you think it's the way the society is framing the view.
I think it's I don't necessarily think that it's the way that they're trained. Like, they don't sit down, police academy, kill the niggers. I don't think that. I think the way, I think the way our society is set up, that's what their brains think. They don't see black doctors. They don't see black community leaders that aren't angry. Because when you think of our community leaders, you only see them when it's time to be angry and mad, and we're doing this and blah blah blah. They don't see the schools. Like, there's a school in Cleveland, I think it's Cleveland, where it's a black school and the students have to wear suits and stuff like that to school. They don't see that. They don't see that they have a 98% graduation rate. We don't see that. What we see is niggas stealing, killing, doing drugs, and selling drugs. So those are danger people. So here comes a nigga. I'm gonna be extra cautious and I'm gonna kill this nigga.
And they women just shake their butts and twerk and
they just pussy play. That's what they are. Even if you get, it's like, you know, even if you give them money, they're gonna act ratchet. Because you watch all these black shows, and I have to admit, I'm addicted to my ratchets too. Because Love and Hip Hop is my show.
the ratchet,
the ratchet. But that's what you think of black women. You don't think that, you know, they're great poets, they're great mothers. You don't, like, before.
You think Mimi and shower rods before you think Maya Angelou. I get it.
Exactly. So I don't necessarily, like I said, I don't think they go and get trained to do it. I think they're born and bred to do it, then they become police. And that is a dangerous job within itself, because you face a lot of decisions, a lot of danger, a lot of, you know what I mean? So
on a daily basis.
And if your image of a black person is danger, you're gonna go with it in extra precaution. So I feel like it's what's embedded in them. I don't think it will change until the image of black people changes.
And that's what we need to work on. Message, hashtag.